there's evidence of a flood from 2500 BC that did cover all the ancient Mesopotamian area. And while I'm writing this, I'm told by a sub they heard the ark contained the DNA of all species and not bodily species, which I answered in the subject of this video. That's not the way the Bible portrayed it. Seems like my usual response to many accounts of legitimacy by the apologist. As for the law, to many accounts of legitimacy by the apologist. As for the law, to many accounts of legitimacy by the apologist. As for the law, to many accounts of legitimacy by the apologist.
Hey guys, so I figured out why this part here is always dark. It's because there's a bump here on paper. Canvas is like bumped, so it's kind of weird. So it's always going to be lighter there. And I can't help it. This is not stretch. This is actually paper that's been treated with a layer of gesso. So I'll be watching Terror Ted while painting this. I really enjoy Terror Ted.
Manicure pliers, nail files, etc. are all available.
Rabbit holes and stuff. So what I'm gonna do right now is like darken this area here. So we're gonna need like a semi-opaque, a dark semi-opaque color.
So, that'll start base humans landing on Earth. Yeah, this might have actually happened. But scientists within our DNA. Without a trace from the genetic record.
Most of my paints are like
Intermingled
opaque or transparent. So
and
gonna have to look for some paints here
much smarter than us. And
are
who knows who they were,
opaque
where they came from. Left was genetic fingerprints, almost like
and dark.
aliens. But what do you think the population was? Were they
What I want is to use a darker color
hominid offshoot, or could they
to
have been something
darken
out of this world,
our
engineering our development?
greens and stuff. So maybe we'll use
Find that more people don't
let's try
realize
this
that
grainy.
it was one of the most sad that they are 99% sure that there is a planet that's years away. What's he out? Scientists were able to use the the light coming off of K218, missing one important light. This unique confidence that there's gas on the planet called massive amounts by phytoplankton planet, which makes life is lurking in Mars.
That's on Mars. That's wrong.
Really? Tell us again.
American Alchemy just interviewed Bill McMonagle, one of the most accurate and well-documented CIA remote viewers that there's ever been. Joe showed satellite mapping imagery he obtained directly from JPL, and it's definitely something worth questioning. A bone on Mars? Could this be actual evidence of something more? Perhaps proof that Mars actually had life? The imagery is real, but the question is, what is it?
They can't all be. There probably was life on Mars at some point. Why it's hard to trust the government. Somebody ran the moon landing through AI.
Most intelligent computer in the world, called Google's Neural, has a deep fake detector. You can feed it a video of Biden or Trump, it'll tell you in 1 second whether it's real or not. They fed it pictures of the surface of the moon from the unmanned approach from 2014. They're real. Every Apollo picture it said was fake. It had a fake backdrop. It was taken in a television studio. That's the most intelligent computer in the world. It can understand the pixels. One of them, it suggested that this wasn't even a full-size lunar module, that it was a miniature. And that's how they were able to do wide landscapes, because one of the astronauts' figures, the AI said, was a miniature, because the footsteps, shadows, weren't
Maybe.
normal of the way a person
You close the door.
that they were stamped in there with the
Government, when they tell us.
be able to enslave the masses.
Same one of these in London. We're going to talk about the great and almighty Netflix. Netflix, man, they run the show. But then I found out the secrets.
What's the secrets?
His great uncle was Edward Bernays, and he was the guy who invented propaganda.
Sigmund Freud's sister, Anna Freud, gave birth to Freud's nephew, Edward Bernays, the father of propaganda. Bernays took his family's work in psychology and used it to help governments and corporations manipulate the minds of the public. Bernays manipulated women into buying more cigarettes by convincing them that smoking was a form of feminist liberation, and turned people into mindless consumers. Is it any surprise then that the great nephew of Edward Bernays is none other than Mark Bernays Randolph, the co-founder and original CEO of Netflix?
Who better can manipulate the masses than Netflix? The CEO of Netflix, he's from Freud. He's a Freudian. What are the chances of that?
It's not coincidence, Brad. You know they've got doomsday film.
I can't believe that CNN actually has a pre-recorded broadcast that they're going to play when the world ends. Yeah, for real. When CNN first started in 1980, it's one of the first things they told us. On launch, CNN founder Ted Turner stated, and I quote, "Barring satellite problems, we won't be signing off until the world ends. We will cover it, the end of the world, live, and we will play a certain song before we sign off." And this was on day one of CNN's launch, so bro really set the bar high. To be fair, tensions with the Soviet Union were quite high at the time as well, with the threat of nuclear war at the forefront of one's mind. CNN's End of the World broadcast became known as the Turner Doomsday Video and was kept hidden for decades, until 2015, when it was actually leaked by a former CNN intern, Michael Balabin, who posted it on YouTube. And this is it. 80s quality 1-minute video of a military band playing Near My God to Thee in front of CNN's headquarters. Kinda underwhelming for what we'd expect a Doomsday video to be like. But the best part is the intern revealed the video was stored in CNN's archives under the totally nonchalant title Turner Doomsday Video and was labeled as HFR, hold for release till end of the world confirmed.
I'm surprised it wasn't a national anthem.
Wow, choice on Lazada is so cheap. Buy just one item and 100% free shipping. Shop now.
This is not a neighborhood. It's actually a cemetery. A cartel cemetery. This is, bear with me, Ardines Umayyad, located on the outskirts of Culiacan, Mexico. And here, the dead don't rest in peace. They rest in luxury. Endless rows of massive tombs costing upwards of $500,000 line the hillside. Inside the tombs, not only do they hold some of the most powerful and brutal cartel members that have ever lived, but also Wi-Fi, satellite TVs, and air conditioning. And of course, every tomb has to be bigger than the last, with the most expensive going into the millions. In one instance, the family of El Polo, El Chapo's brother, reportedly spent over $1 million on a massive mausoleum complex, which has 5 interconnected buildings. We're talking Italian marble, gold-plated domes, and even bulletproof. Apparently, even after death, it's still on site. Meanwhile, the surrounding neighborhoods are crumbling in poverty. So the question is, should these tombs be left standing or torn down with the cartels that built them?
Can't believe that exists.
Some guy went there, bro.
I've been to some crazy places before, but this has to be up there as one of the craziest. This is a cemetery. All mausoleums. Cartel bosses in Culiacan, Sinaloa. These aren't houses. These are mausoleums. Like the tombs of Egypt for the pharaohs, except these hold narco kingpins. And each one built larger to one-up their competitors. It truly is unbelievable. The amount of money that the cartel makes. They have so much money they don't even know what to do with it. Point where they build $1 million mansions to be buried
monuments to some of the most evil people who ever walked the earth. Here in Sinaloa, Mexico. Propped up by a government as corrupt as they are.
Disgusting.
Yeah, bro, they're fucking savages.
%, free shipping with no minimum spend. And free shipping. Shop today and enjoy fast and free shipping on Lazada. Cashback up to 25%.
Fucking savages.
Is the secret to remembering everything. You can remember literally everything. Now, what do you mean by that? What's one piece of content that after you've seen it, you just remember the rest of your life? I'll give you the answer. Something cursed. I don't know. Close. What? It's something super scary. Okay, yeah. Something scary and something that spikes your adrenaline. Now check this out. So, there's a theory that adrenaline spikes in our body and make us remember things so vividly. Check this out, okay? Any single time you felt embarrassed, any single time you felt like you were in danger, how well do you remember that moment? That's why they come super well, right? Yeah. Now, in the Middle Ages, bro, take this in. After teaching kids in the Middle Ages, the elders would throw kids into a freezing river to spike their adrenaline. So they found out that spiking their adrenaline will make them remember and retain all of the information in their head. What? So throwing kids in lakes after teaching them shit. Theory, let's say you're studying for an exam, whatever it may be, right? You study, try to make yourself super anxious, make yourself feel like, I'm gonna right? You're gonna remember that shit, bro.
Sounds crazy, but it makes sense.
We lost a lot of ancient knowledge, bro.
You look into cymatics. This was done in cathedrals, which I thought was really cool. There was a fellow who took a device, went into cathedrals, and saw that the stained glass windows in the cathedrals were emitting the same picture on this device as the stained glass windows. The sound resonance in which we can hear is actually being impacted by the materials and the colors and everything that's with it. So when you get into sound frequency, people can look into cymatics. There's lots of fellows who've done different things with cymatics. They take plates of salt and they show how different pictures, different graphics are created with sound. Each different sound can heal a different organ. This is where you get into like sound therapy, sound healing. They do the things with the bells, and they do things with the drums and the tuning forks. Back in the 1920s and 30s in Germany, they would do tuning forks up and down the body, and that's how they would heal the person. Find a spot that was stuck, and they would bring that tuning fork right to there. They hold it there until it cleared, and then they'd move it down. But when you get into plants too, certain frequencies of music can be very beneficial, and then certain ones can be detrimental.
I never saw all this. Seems unbelievable.
Right, it's legit.
Something terrifying. The Prophecy of the Popes.
Oh boy.
This book in the Vatican archive predicted every single pope from 1143 all the way to our current pope. But the scary thing is, after Pope Francis, the last one, it just says Judgment Day.
Oh gosh.
It literally ends after Pope Francis? Yes. The creepiest thing, inside St. Paul's Basilica, bordering the whole inner sanctuary, is a picture of every single pope. But what's weird is that there's only a certain amount of markers where you can put a picture. There's one left after Pope Francis. They have always said once that last slot is filled, it will be the end of the world. What he predicted, the time it took to go from the first pope that he wrote about to the halfway mark was 422 years. He's saying from the middle one to the end, another 422 years will be the end of the world. If you do 422 in the middle pope, which was 1585, that year is 2027. Dang! It's even weirder. Pope John the 23rd, he said that the end of the world would happen 2,000 years plus Christ's life. So that adds up to 2027 as well.
We got 3 years left, bro.
Tut. Remember, it's for entertainment purposes only.
Ice damage is caused by using poor quality chargers. To protect your iPhone and iPad, choose the fast wall charger designed specifically for Apple devices. It features smart current regulation, ensuring safe and efficient charging reliable whether at home or on the go. Click the link below to give it a try.
Maalis ang gout at pananakit ng parmasyutiko ang galit na galit dahil ang gamot ng gout ay nagpapalugi sa kanila. Wala nang gustong bumili ng mga luma at hindi epektibong gamot.
Francis died just after Resurrection Sunday. A lot of people shrugged. He had poor health. He's 88 years old. Died of natural causes. Supposedly, when the Pope dies, it's a big deal. People shrugged. Moving on to the next thing. But to the people, the prophecy of the popes, shrug it off. They froze in place when they heard the news. Prophecy that's not so quietly been circling around for centuries. Francis wasn't just any pope. Last. Back in 1590, a list of 112 short Latin phrases appeared, supposedly written by a 12th century bishop named Saint Malachy. Not Saint Malachi, Saint Malachy. Each phrase was said to describe a future pope, by symbol, by origin, or by destiny. Over time, believers in this prophecy noticed that many of the mottos were shockingly accurate, but it's the last entry, the 112th pope, that's made the whole thing infamous. It says this: in the final persecution of the Holy Roman Church, there will sit Peter the Roman, who will pasture his sheep in many tribulations. And when these things are finished, the city on the 7 hills will be destroyed, and the dreadful judge will judge his people. Now, if you count from Pope Celestine II, who began his reign in 1143, all the way to now, Pope Francis was number 112. According to the prophecy, after him comes Judgment Day. That's still just a creepy coincidence. Let's keep going. Pope Francis died in his 88th year. In biblical numerology, 88 symbolizes a new order, a transition into something radically different. He died just hours after Easter Sunday, also known as Resurrection Sunday. And get this, the year 2025 marks 434 years since the prophecy was first published in 1590. That number matters because the angle talks about 62 weeks, which scholars equate to 434 years leading up to the death of a messianic figure. That 62 weeks after the prophecy mirrors that time. 2025 is the 70th biblical jubilee, a special year of redemption that only happens once every 49 years. The first one supposedly was commanded in 1406 BC. 70 jubilees later, that's 2025. According to Daniel 9:24, the 70th week is when every judgment. Our focus back to Rome. Do you know what else is in Rome? The city of the 7 hills. So here's the final picture. The last pope has died. The timing aligns with Easter, Daniel's prophetic calendar, and the 70th Jubilee. Chaos. Obviously, wars, collapse, just like the prophecy said. Now, our reign. The Bible says that, and we have to, right? But if these signs mean what people they mean, we might not be waiting much longer, right? Damn it, man.
Nothing's going to happen.
The company behind Scotch tape and post-it notes create a UFO-type force field in the 1980s. It's apparently a true story, documented by one of the 3M scientists himself. The story is crazy. You guys are going to want to stick around for this. On a night in 1980, 3M employees would unexpectedly create a Star Trek-like force field in their factory in South Carolina. Inside the plant, massive rolls of polypropylene film were being unwound at high speed for manufacturing. And as the plastic moved, it created an intense electrostatic charge. Suddenly, workers noticed something bizarre. When they tried to move through a certain area, they couldn't. It's as if an invisible formed in midair. Now obviously word spread fast, and then this man, David Swenson, an electrostatic specialist at 3M at the time, was called in to investigate. Employees began testing the phenomenon. Small objects would pass through fine, but larger objects, human-sized objects, seriously repelled. The force field was so strong that people were getting stuck trying to move through it. They had to walk backwards out of the force field. Swenson would measure this force field at 200 to 500 kilovolts. To put that into perspective, your socket, your electrical outlet, is between 120 and 240 volts, and a taser is around about 50,000 volts. Lightning is between 100 million to a billion volts, but that's in an instant of discharge. The force field wasn't just high voltage, it was sustained and strong enough to create an invisible barrier that people could physically. Swenson's write-up about this incident, just some thing he wrote for a blog. His paper, Wide Propylene Web Static Charge, a phenomenon worthy of Star Trek, was presented at the 1997 Annual Technical Conference of the Society of Plastics Engineers. This is one of the most prestigious, well-respected, and longest-running technical conferences in the plastics industry.
You got to skip something about the CIA, bro.
You're probably
hard to him, but Julian Brown is back at it. This man started a diesel truck using plastic waste for gasoline, meaning he's not actually using gasoline, he uses what he calls as plastiline. And he's using this to run a diesel truck. He already ran a regular vehicle off of it, and he got a video for that as well. He be having big crowds when he doing this stuff. And the way he does this, he keeps the plastic waste, I believe, using solar power. Don't quote me on that. I don't know exactly how he does it. But he does have a GoFundMe right now to get the equipment he needs to keep on doing it. I think he's trying to raise like $16,000 or something like that. And I'm going to tell y'all, like I told y'all in the other video I did of him, bro, we need to protect this man at all costs. Y'all know how they come for them people when they got them revolutionary ideas that could take away from their bag, that could take away from their control. Y'all know how they do them people. And I'm going to keep bringing this up. A few years back, somebody ran into a grocery store with a weapon and took out a whole bunch of people in military fashion. And one of those people just so happened to be one of the people who was trying to put out a patent for the hydro car. Basically trying to start running cars off of water instead of gasoline. And for some strange out of nowhere, he passes away in a very random and deadly grocery shooting. Like, you know what I'm saying? Julian Brown, remember the name, remember the face, man. We gotta protect this man.
They're gonna get him, bro.
you trying to see the rep.
Yeah, bro. Check this out.
Everybody always wants to ask me how much per gallon does it take to turn it into a gallon of my plastiline, the gasoline alternative made from plastic waste. Well, let me tell you what it's going to be. $0 per gallon. How? Because starting next month, I'm going to begin the journey of running this solar. I will take the sunlight and harness the rays of the sun at a cost of $0 per kilowatt to operate the world's first ever handmade continuous microwave pyrolysis reactor to convert plastic waste, mixed, clean, dirty, whatever. Take that plastic waste out the ocean, out the landfills, out the waste stream, and turn it into fuel. $0 a gallon. So are you ready? Are you with me on this journey? Because I'm going to need all your help. I'm going to need every single one of your help to do this. Stay tuned, because we're going to worry about that soon when that time comes next month. Guys, now, how much it's going to cost me to make a gallon of plastiline?
I don't believe it when I say it.
It's the jet, bro. You ran a truck off it.
I have plastic diesel. A diesel alternative I make from plastic waste. I have beside me here two 400 and two 773. I'm gonna put my plastic diesel plastic waste inside of the first ever F-250 of the plastic waste in Chicago, baby. Diesel inside of this truck. So Tony, let's go ahead and get this diesel in here.
side of the pail, and we're gonna hook up a few holes to it. It's diesel versions of the. Yes, it's out of diesel. Ready to start. Everybody, make our way back to the front. I want to support my mission to take sunlight and turn sunlight into fuel in the plastic waste. And when I go fund here, we're looking to raise $16,000 to get all the solar friction I need. Is everybody ready? Yeah!
Not sticking properly? Try this professional nail glue. Adhesion and long-lasting hold, this 7G value pack ensures your nails stay flawless. Perfect your nail art effortlessly.
Full trade on the go.
This guy's in trouble.
That's why he's doing it so publicly.
Ancient ruins in Burma have popped out of the ground after an earthquake in what is now Myanmar. Okay. Wild because Burma's actually gorgeous and they have a really rich culture. And unlike many other governments, the Burmese government gave the okay to excavate quickly after these were discovered. They're just starting, but this place is believed to be a palace and is huge. Myanmar is known for the it would have been the biggest one if the that had commissioned it didn't die and an earthquake didn't take a lot of it out. You'll see what it would have looked like if it was. I'm going to begin to try and pronounce that name, but the place. Fortunately, it was also damaged in this earthquake. But the form they used to build these temples is an advanced geometric concept called the Ford Circle. And the best example of this is their crowning achievement, the Shui Dagon Pagoda. Head to toe in gold inside and out, and the thing's an absolute unit. Locals say it's 2,600 years old, so we're gonna go with that. And realize how crazy this architecture actually is. The Ford Circle can be used to perfectly break up harmonic ratios in music. Fractal, meaning you can zoom into it as much as you want and the form will stay the same. You can even rotate it and the form will stay the same. It is also one of the only hyperbolic fractals. That's advanced geometry. It's used in deep learning for AI models. Also used in signal processing, and if we travel through a black hole, we have to use that geometry to navigate it, unless you are an Egyptian. Mathematical theory of everything called E8, and if you flatten it, it's the same shape as that pagoda. Is right between India and Cambodia. All use harmonics in their architecture. Using new acoustic analysis tools and LiDAR, we are seeing so much stuff that is far more advanced than we have. New stuff like this, even more. Days, all of my previous work on all of this stuff will be completely eclipsed by my analysis, celestial mechanics, ancient reality with my pictures and their pictures. If guys were using some crazy spiritual technology of some sort, we should figure that out, and I'm here for it.
There's a lot we don't know about frequencies, bro. You'll have to save that for next time.
Watching, guys.
Sunday, Greg.
Yeah, and it will go public the following Wednesday. As always, so like, comment and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.
Oh, the choice on Lazada is so cheap. Buy just one item. Want to improve the convenience? This retractable faucet is your ideal choice. Flexible design, easily retractable.
Oh, we're scared. We're back with another one.
Shutter.
faces. Oh, that's symmetry. How can you possibly do that by hand? There's been some interesting studies done on the faces of giant statues. One in particular is the face of Ramsey. Chris Dunn was real seminal in this. He took a photo, take a copy of that photo, make it 50% transparent, make the original 50% transparent, take one and you flip it like on that horizontal axis. It's perfectly symmetrical, left to right. Many engineers, master stonemasons, stone carvers, they see it immediately and they just dismiss the idea that this was done with pounding stones and copper chisels.
It's like they were made with molds.
Or lasers.
Start anywhere with temple mysteries, you have to start with India. India has the craziest architecture you will ever see. Half the stuff in the temples spin if they don't float. The pillars in these temples look exactly like the sound wave in 3D. That one's iron. It hasn't rusted in 2,300 years. They carved them into mountains and then out of mountains. And make a mistake. You have one shot at it. When they're done carving, they put the finest details head to toe in the entire temple. You never not get all the details, even if you try. Look at this. Mandala made out of a snake tail. It's all one tail. That elephant is not an elephant. It's made out of people.
Yeah,
That
like
stone
in
is made
India,
out of
there
one
are
solid rock.
temples there.
It's a chain now. They put a rock
It's
ball
actually
of
impossible
one stone inside
to
a
make.
carving of a different type of stone. It's one
We
piece.
can't
How'd they get
even
the
make
rock
it
ball
right
in
now.
there? They built pyramids like Egypt and Mexico, and then they inverted it into the ground. Then when they got bored of that, they inverted one of their own temples and built that into the ground. Some of the features inside the temple look like
And you
modern
know,
technology
India
today.
has written books about gods
Impossible to carve that
in the
with a
past.
chisel.
It wasn't made by hand, right?
Why on earth did they do this? Why isn't this a big mystery? The Sabu disc from the ancient Egyptian artifact from the first dynasty, 3000 to 2800 BC, found in 1936 in North Saqqara necropolis and Mastaba S311. Those are sort of tombs which have got two levels. They think it was used in brewing beer as a mash rig to mix and even out the mixture of term, this thing that's cut out of this incredibly hard stone. Do they have any sort of a guess of how someone would cut something like that? I've never seen a satisfactory guess. But it's done who are studying the technology of ancient confident that we're looking at the traces of a lost technology. We don't know how this was done. Like so much else in engineering, like we don't know 70-ton blocks were raised to meet up the roof of the king's chamber either in the Great. So much that we don't know and that's not explained and that is easily written off by abusively arrogant experts saying there's no mystery here.
When are we going to do an episode on the pyramids, bro?
We should build them and do a special out of the pyramids.
Founder of Spotify is building a new company. Customers are saying it looks like the Apple of healthcare. For 300 appointment, you go into the Tony Stark of Health Labs. It's called NECO. And NECO offers advanced full-body health screening, instant results, scans, and benchmarks against other people your age. But here's the crazy part. They invented these new age scanners that collect data non-invasive. And they kind of look like the airport security machines. Each chamber has 70 sensors that collects 2,000 images in just 20 seconds. Then they use advanced AI to analyze 50 million data about your heart, skin, vessels, inflammation, and more. All designed to detect deadly disease and prevent cancer. They just opened up their newest location in London, and patients are raving. And I don't know about you, but I would pay a lot of money for a membership like this in the US. Once per year, get a quick scan, compare my levels to other people my age, make sure nothing's wrong. Everybody I know wants this. Would you pay for it?
It's amazing. It's going to be the future of healthcare.
Super rich.
Pretty crazy. Apparently, the actual president of El Salvador
posted this video last night saying that police intelligence has determined that a group of gang members are hiding in the tented neighborhood in San Marcos, San Salvador. Today in the early hours of the morning, we've established a security fence throughout the colony with 2,000 soldiers and 500 policemen to extract every last gang member found in the area. I'm telling you right now, like, El Salvador doesn't mess around when it comes to enforcing laws because they've had such a serious issue with gang violence, and they're just like, we're not playing this game anymore. Extract this.
I've got police wolves soon, Brett.
China is unveiling the future of military technology at Airshow China 2024, using a new generation of light arms and an innovative creation. Machines adopt a pack strategy for coordinated missions. The robotic wolf pack consists of 4 specialized units, each with one wolf leads with advanced reconnaissance equipment to gather critical frontline intelligence. Another supports the team with ammunition supply. Other wolves are armed with firearms that can serve as the primary combat forces. Together, they are controlled and coordinated by a central vehicle, allowing the pack to operate within a 2-kilometer range for up to 3 hours.
They've given them wheels now, right?
A company in China called Deep Robotics has invented a quadruped wheeled robot that can basically go over anything. Like, it is capable of walls, it's capable of going up and down steep hills without falling over, without tripping, braking, without crashing or anything like that. Apparently they've got all different types of versions of their quadruped robots. They've got power and utility versions that are capable of going up and down staircases. They've got rescue versions that obstacles. They're good in all weather. They can go into toxic, collapsed buildings and post-disaster areas without having any issues. They also got tunnels. And then also mining robots that are made for navigating complex environments like narrow spaces. And they've got construction ones. China's also revealed that they have little quadruped robotic dogs with miniguns on the top of them. So imagine the military applications for a robot that has a minigun on top of it, can get around anywhere on any terrain without falling down, and you can't get away from it.
Those things could be used to rescue people in hard to reach places and shit like that, and they just strap guns to it.
Well, that's because crime is more like prevalent, and rescues are mostly able to handle rescues, and they're not really that complicated. But when it comes to crime, it's a little bit dangerous to go
SpaceX's competitor just
fight
received
crime.
this 39-foot-tall robot to 3D print rockets. Rocket Labs now owns the world's largest automated fiber placement machine. 9-ton robot 3D prints carbon fiber rocket modules at a staggering rate. The machine can complete the dome rocket in just 24 hours. Something that Rocket Labs 100,000 hours of production time. The Neutron rocket is said to be a direct SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket, both in terms of payload capacity and autonomous landing capabilities.
It's getting crazy.
Yeah, but it got 3D printed meat.
With modified RX-9 Hellfire missile, this thing is insane. America's secret ninja bomb. So there's no explosive in the front of it. It gets deployed using an existing platform, but rather than having an explosive payload, razor-sharp swords come out the side of it and just turn human flesh into smoothies. Look at what he does for a car. Dude, one of them, supposedly one of the masterminds behind 9/11, they'd done surveillance on this guy, and every morning he'd come out and drink his coffee on his balcony. So they just timed 2 of those things. Comes out, that's it, there's no explosion, there's no nothing. and this guy just gets turned into so precise that you need to know which seat of the car the only propels for the first 2 seconds, and then after that it's just using fins. So it works out the trajectory. So there's not even the sound of engine coming towards you. It's just silence, and then blades.
It's not gets blown up, I guess. It's mad how accurate they get.
To use pigeons and pilot missiles, bro.
Like in the tip of the missile, and they would give them a photo of the target that they wanted to hit, and they would train the pigeon to recognize the land and look at the photo, and if it was going away from the target, it would head towards the direction of the target.
So the pigeon's piloting the missile.
That is exactly right.
Because at the time there was no way to light, no heat seeking, no remote control.
This is like World War II, actually.
And this was tested and I assume worked at least a couple of times.
This was tested, the pigeon was trained, but they didn't actually end up like implementing it in some sort of widespread way. But they did use pigeons later on in the Cold War with a little camera as surveillance agents.
How many pigeons were lost in that line of duty?
We'll never know. It's this sort of fallen soldier situation where, you know, the internal force.
It's gotta be fake.
Nah, bro. I looked it up. It's true.
I guess the CIA have done craziest shit.
So scientists have come across this new material or substance that is made out of 99% air, y'all. They're calling it aerogel. Look at this, y'all. This thing literally is air that's trapped in some type of square that basically to it. 99% air, right? Look at it. Literally fireproof. Check this out. Look at that. Not even getting burned, right? Trying to see what type of noise, like how loud it is when it slams on the floor. Look, the water's going right through it. Check this out. He coats it all over his hands and he becomes repellent to water. He's able to repel water. Look at that. Now I wonder what the hell is that gonna do to his body, because I'm sure it's getting absorbed into his skin. But yeah, I don't know if it was discovered or made in a lab, but here it is sitting in that cube, in the shape of a cube, because I guess it's like water. It takes the shape of whatever it's in. But this is amazing, man. That's that guy that's always on the show with, what's his name? Neil deGrasse Tyson. What do you guys make of this, y'all? Let me know down in the comments below. This is strictly for entertainment purposes. Awareness to interesting situations during these interesting times. Thank you for changing my frequency. Let's get this shift.
That's black magic, bro.
What would that even be classed as? A solid or a gas?
Bike to you, it's a thumb drive. Not a thumb drive. So if I open this up, inside of this, you see the SD card in there?
Yeah.
So when this is plugged into a computer, the computer believes that it is a keyboard. So it's an HID device. So when I plug this into any computer, doesn't matter, it's Mac, Linux, Windows, it's gonna not think this is a flash drive, and it's gonna start firing off keystrokes at superhuman speeds. So I have a payload configured on here that will automatically install malware on your computer, dump all the passwords out of your browser, save them to, it's called an FTP file share. It's like a folder on the internet. It saves those passwords and installs the malware so that I can access your computer later, and then I unplug it from your computer, I walk away, and I'm done. You know, if I leave one of these on the ground outside of your office, or I just leave one in the bathroom, but think, oh, what's on that flash drive? And before you have a chance to even pull it out, a payload got executed on your computer.
Oh, alright, so it takes the passwords out of your browser. What if you use...
And puts malware on your computer.
Careful, guys. If you find that SD card or memory stick, throw it away.
I think the curiosity would make me look, bro.
Nanobots. Swedish scientists come up with nanobots that take care of certain kind of cells in the body. Apparently, blood swimming nanotech is real, and they're smaller than blood cells. What are these things made out of? Apparently, they come equipped with a swimming tail, a capacitor, their payload, and a micro camera. Some of them are said to have arms. These have all this technology inside of them, and they're smaller than a blood cell. Who had the small enough hands to get in there and just... I can't find any real pictures of them for you, and when I'm looking for these things, it reminds me a lot of trying to find a real photo of Earth from space. You know how they all look really computer generated and super fake? Come on now, who built that camera? Come on. Amazon hasn't even figured out a robotic delivery system for our packages out here in the big world, where we have hands that are small enough to build these robots. And we're supposed to believe these exist? I can't.
If something like this exists, humans did not make it.
That shows.
Yeah, bro. That's my boy, 7 Club.
I want to put y'all onto something. Terror Ted's Tales. This is by far, hands down, the best video reaction channel on YouTube. Oh, you should see the back of this shirt too. It is way cooler than the front, even though the front is still cool, guys. It's sporting my favorite channel, dude. That's Ted.
TerrorTedsTales.com. You can also join our channel.
And let's get an extra episode every week, bro.
Washington and new questions about whether the government is covering up evidence of UFOs. A congressional hearing straight out of a science fiction movie.
All to hide the fact that we are not alone in the cosmos.
Lawmakers calling for more transparency around UAPs, or unidentified anomalous phenomena. That's the term the government now uses instead of UFO.
Could be or are.
Strong evidence that they are non-human and of higher intelligence.
Intelligence officer last year claimed the Pentagon has been hiding knowledge of alien activity for decades.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to.
Luis Elizondo, who headed a Pentagon program investigating UAPs, now doubling down on his claims.
Has the government conducted secret UAP crash retrieval programs, yes or no?
Yes.
Were they designed to identify and reverse engineer alien craft, yes or no?
Yes.
Elizondo saying the alleged extraterrestrial presence poses a national security threat.
Let me be clear. Advanced technologies not made by our government or any other government are monitoring sensitive military installations around the globe.
And saying he believes many classified materials should be shared with Congress and the public.
If this was an adversarial technology, this would be an intelligence failure eclipsing that of 9/11 by an order of magnitude. I believe that we as Americans can handle. Also believe the world deserves the truth.
Hearing lacked any direct evidence, with witnesses who have said they'll only speak about certain subjects behind closed doors. So, the result of yesterday's hearing? Well, one congresswoman says it could open the door to more hearings.
More hearings ain't gonna help. At this point, we just gotta see what I've got.
This ain't enough to play big, bro.
This is a snapshot of the film that was 91 out of a facility of the Area 51. If I am truly in danger, that means that film and this God help me. But if I'm truly in danger and this being is real, that means the extraterrestrial program is also real. And I say, God help us all.
Well, that's fake as fuck.
Come on, bro, we gotta do the Area 51 episode.
What's the latest and greatest in UFO information? One of them was those bizarre pyramid-shaped video pyramid
triangle by angle of observation, and in the classified section, it goes into depth. They were pyramids. There's a lot of argument about that publicly. Like, does it show an optical effect where it's not what it appears? So most are spheres, like with cubes in them. That is the strangeness of it. Most of them are cubes surrounded by a translucent sphere. I've heard of pyramids.
So most of them
that are on the East Coast right now with increased frequency and also over war zones. What are they? Like the cubes surrounded by these spheres. No, because they don't look like they have a payload.
And what shape are these ones that have payloads?
Looks like a jellyfish, man.
Sorry, the jellyfish.
Yeah, I don't know. It's stiff, but that about the size of like a big coffee table. That's the one at least that we fired on recently.
Big coffee like this desk, maybe?
Yeah. I will tell you that.
Solid, bro.
Harvard law graduate has came out and said he knows the exact location of an alien base. The U.S. government knows about it and has been monitoring it. Daniel Sheehan is a 79-year-old Harvard law graduate, and he gave a speech for this new Paradigm Institute, which is his research institute, and they research UFOs, UAPs, things like that. But he said off the coast of California, there is a small island called Guadalupe, and it's a volcanic island, and that's where the UFOs are living, and that the U.S. government had USS Nimitz stationed there to watch the UFOs go in and out of the water. Let's dig into that. The USS Nimitz is actually stationed in San Diego right here on this blue dot from 2001 until 2012. Now that's less than 300 miles away from this supposed alien base. Also less than 300 feet from where the USS Nimitz was stationed was Santa Catalina Island. Now this is where the Tic Tac UFO was seen exiting the water by the USS Nimitz. Now this prompted Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet, who is retired now, to investigate the oceans for UFOs and UAPs. He had a good buddy of his, basically, scan the ocean floor around Santa Catalina Island to see what he could find. Near Santa Catalina Islands, Tim and his friend found an unnatural ridge in the ocean floor that goes on for over a mile long. Keep in mind, this is less than 300 miles away from this supposed UFO alien base. So we have the volcanic island that supposedly has the alien base underneath it. We have the USS Nimitz stationed in San Diego until 2012. Now it is stationed up in Washington, but still on the coast. And then we have Santa Catalina Island, which has been a hotbed for UFOs and for the Tic Tac sighting. All of these are within 300 miles of each other. I don't know, I think Carter may telling the truth.
So much of this stuff coming out.
I know. Later na.
How long is it gonna take? Probably like 3 weeks. Yeah, something crazy like that. You realize that Amazon, you order the same shit for one day shipping, right? So what you do is you buy both. But why? Because that's insane. You buy both. Because why? It's the same product. You get the Amazon one in 1 day shipping. 3 weeks, and you return the Temu one, and then you get the product. Wait. We can't do this. Is that crazy? Yo, is that crazy though? That's on scam, fam. No? I mean, that's just what people are doing right now. Yeah, that's like just allegedly. I don't know. Allegedly, that's the method, bro. No, but isn't that smart? Yeah, no, that's like reverse dropshipping. That's like the defense of dropshipping.
Yeah. I don't think they could promote something like that, mate. Yeah, remember, this is for entertainment purposes only.
Breaking news. Physicists think that human consciousness comes from a different dimension. To explain why the mind or consciousness is so hard to quantify. Neurologists know all about the brain, but the mind is a mystery. This would mean that humans are interdimensional. We are operating our bodies remotely. It's crazy, bro. Basically, it's like Avatar. We're Avatar. When people talk about the simulation theory, I think it's not that the world ain't real and that it's fake and it's an actual computer program. The world we live in is 100% real. We are just in 2 places at once. It's like playing a VR computer game, but in reverse. So instead of being physical, going into the virtual world, we are virtual or spiritual. And to our conscious state once we are unalive.
Well, it's not Temu, it's Temu. Temu.
It's an interesting idea, but we're all just meat puppets.
Wow, choice on Lazada is so cheap. Buy 1 item and get 100% free shipping. Shop now.
This is your brain on psilocybin, the psychedelic drug and some magic mushrooms. In a recent study, 7 people got brain scans before, during, and after taking a high dose of psilocybin. And the results showed that this drug basically shakes up neural activity like a snow globe. Usually, when a person is just sitting around and not doing much, their brain has a steady, unique pattern of activity, kind of like a fingerprint. But when people in this study tripped on psilocybin, it completely scrambled those normal brain connections. Some of the biggest changes happened in a set of brain areas called the default mode network, which is involved in creating our sense of self. In fact, one of the scientists who did the study also participated in the experiment, and he said that he totally lost the feeling of being himself while he was tripping inside the scanner. People's brains were mostly back to normal a day after taking psilocybin, but some neural changes seem to last for weeks. Scientists are currently investigating psilocybin and other psychedelics as potential treatments for a range of mental health disorders. So So it's important to understand the
Yeah,
effects these drugs can have on
drugs like
people's brains
this.
long after a drug
There's
is over.
also this flower that you can consume, which like makes you like lose time, lose perception of time.
6 months removed from all
Kind of
which led to his discovery
makes you
of
ask a question like, maybe we're just sharing like, what if everybody is like high on something, like there's a compound in our brain,
anything that might help him establish figure time. He called his team every time he woke up, when he ate, just before
but you know, animals kind of
sleep, what his body told him. A few months
disprove those theories, like
chose a 48-hour cycle as opposed to 24.
how their brain works is like synced to ours in terms of time and stuff.
He couldn't tell the difference. Also started experiencing everything twice as slow. When he called his team every time he awoke, he had to count from 1 to 120 at a rate of 1 digit per second, meaning it should take around 2 minutes to count that. Towards the end of the experiment, it was taking about 5 minutes to count that. So psychologically, he experienced 5 real minutes as though they were 2. When he got the call telling him the experiment was over and it was time to come out, he thought they were lying and he had months left to go.
Sounds like an interesting guy.
1920 portion of the press asked Albert, who is the smartest man you've ever met? And he very quickly answered, smartest man I've ever met is my chauffeur. And the press said, okay, can you explain that? He said, yes, my chauffeur traveled around the world with me in the 1920s. He sat through every one of my lectures.
Like people would think like,
So sick on the way to
let's say we're having this shared delusion, right? That we're just high and our perception of time and reality is just because of this chemical that we produce in our bodies. But you know, animals like kind of debunks all of that.
Instantly said, sir, that question is so simplistic that even my chauffeur sitting there.
So when you sleep, right? When you're sleeping with your pets, they kind of are in sync with you. So
No one in the press wanted to ask another question. Most times, genius isn't having all the information. It's simply having the courage to stand up, recognize opportunity, pivot in the moment.
what's fascinating to me is like why we, even if you like take drugs like that, right? The psychedelic drugs, then you lose time, let's say. How do we like come back to the normal like time, like awareness, right? Like we can like, it's like a rubber band, we can like stretch it out and narrow it down, but there's always a default mode. So
It's the crazy Just Released video of a prison break.
it's just one thing in creation that you can't break, right? You can stretch it, but there's always things in the universe that you can't break or you can't delete, right?
Video was released by the lawyer for the rape of Saint Nairi. Edited. They even
But what's fascinating about it is you can stretch it out, you can like distort it, right?
Iron bars block their access.
It's like your mental stability, you can like distort it, you can break it.
Finally making it to the roof. They're so cocky they take a moment to pose for another celebratory photo. They then rappel down
But there's
5
always
stories
this-
using high-grade rope that they had somehow smuggled into the prison.
You can always like,
The men abducted a
there's always a default mode like that. So our perception of good and evil is like so synced with our like bodies.
Fast forward years later, Tupac is dating one of the daughters, I think it was 15.
Like which one came first? Like the rules
Michael Jackson watched Quincy
or
Jones'
the
daughter
experience?
Tupac comes out the party.
Kind of wild to go into deep thought about these things.
Yo, you can't talk to her like that. It's like, Mike, mind your fucking business. Mike was like, fuck, no, that's like my niece. You ain't gonna just talk to her like that. Michael Jackson, then fucking Tupac started rumbling. Jackson beat his ass. They said, love to fight. Like a Michael Jackson. I remember, number one, Mike came up in the house with how many brothers? 2
got brothers? My brothers. You got brothers? Okay, so I have 4 brothers. That's how I learned how to fight.
Fuck Jake Paul and Tyson. This would have been a fight worth watching.
We need to bring back celebrity deathmatch, bro.
It's wild, but this guy is saying that part of the strike is because that they're hearing children scream into shipping containers. Watch.
Because they're striking.
Shipping containers. Watch.
They're striking. And one of the main reasons is they're tired of hearing humans being shipped over and screaming and banging on the inside of the shipping containers to get out.
And in this video, this content creator says that close to where the shipping containers are. Watch.
Diddy's private island, shipping container island right across the way. Diddy's island with all of his friends.
Diddy's private island right next to the shipping container island. And they are hearing screams of people trying to get out of the shipping containers. Has P. Diddy done these things? Has he imported a shipping container? What do you think about this in the comments? By the way, this person was 6. They had gone to a Diddy white party in 1999.
Diddy had a private island.
There was a lot happening on that island, right? Have to save that for next time.
Well, let's hope we don't do this week's giveaway. Alright, let's do this.
Exchange favors, bro. Get something from our merch store. We'll send this straight out, right? Leave a comment on this video if it drops the play next week.
We just hit 10k subscribers. Crazy. It's thanks to you guys who have been backing us ever since the beginning. Thank you so much.
Yeah, just sounds forever, bitch.
And as always, thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment and subscribe. See you in the next one.
I really like this channel because they curate like random TikToks really well. It's about the curation, you know, it's kind of hard to do that. Oh my god, the cats are going wild again. A lot of stray cats in here. Actually, one of my kittens was killed actually by a stray cat, a male stray cat. I didn't see him, but he tried to kill another one. I always suspected that cat because he's trying to catch one of my kittens. Weird. So I searched up the internet and it's kind of true. Like for territorial purposes, these cats kind of kill each other. So, so there's this trend on on Facebook. Like some people are like crying because, and they blame their neighbors for their cats getting like murdered on the street. And sometimes, you know, here in the Philippines, like there's a lot of animals. Far few people who kind of kill animals here. So that kind of brought the light. Like I always thought, I kind of was tempted to think that there are some psychopathic peoples here. Kill animals just leave them there for nothing. Like, but you know, that Google search kind of opened my eyes. You know, made me realize that stray cats can kills their own kind for like territory and resource. Kind of wild to think about it. But animals are animals. And sometimes when we get used to having like pets now, they're like docile and they kind of lost their animal nature. We kind of project ourselves to them, right? And they kind of mirror us in some way. So we kind of forget or lose touch of the reality that these are animals. Have like instincts, can be wild. You can't blame people for that. It's like just amazing that we can lose touch of reality just because of we've been exposed to like was trying to like attack one of my kittens. Scariest thing about it is this cat drags out the kitten, and then you can't find it anymore. I don't know what he does with it. It's them or something. Let's listen to this AI talk from guy here.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4.
This is from
The state of it in 2025.
film
how it's gonna
theorist
affect all of us moving forward. Hello, Internet, and welcome to the couch. I know you might be wondering, Lee, well, what the heck is going on here? And I get it. This is a bit different than what you'd normally expect from a film theory, but today needed something different. It's always been the theorist philosophy that our videos are supposed to be fun and entertaining, getting you to learn something new about a topic through the lens of your favorite video, lifestyle, etc. We want you to think about the world in a new way, view topics you're familiar with through a different lens. But hey, it's all for fun. While we do take our research seriously, the theories are just that, theories. But every now and then, a subject does come along that requires a more serious conversation. Something that warrants a real human face-to-face interaction. Well, at least as human as we can be when I'm sitting here in the studio talking to you through a camera. And today is one of those days, because media, as we know it, it's changing. It's changing fast. It's gonna look a lot different in the near future. Why? Well, it's because of two words: artificial intelligence. Yeah. Today we're talking about AI, our stance on it here at Theorists, how and if we use it in our videos, and how we as a community move forward in a world where AI is becoming an increasingly large part of the industries that we cover here, but also everyday life. And the goal here, what I want us all to leave this conversation with, I want to make sure that you are equipped with the knowledge of where and how AI is being used in what you watch and play, and how it can move. So, the best place to start is probably by answering the question, what the heck even is AI? People say the word a lot, and it seems to describe everything nowadays. But what is it really? Well, AI is a mid-Steven Spielberg movie starring Haley Joel Osment.
David, stop it!
Not my favorite. No, but seriously, AI is artificial intelligence. That's just a fancy way of saying an intelligent computer program. But just how intelligent can vary wildly. You guys remember Clippy, the little character that would help you write Word documents back in the day? Well, he was kind of like an AI. Enemies in a video game, they're also AI. Siri, or Alexa, or Google Assistant, AI.
No, it's a misnomer. It's like
hilarious and frustrating.
it's not intelligent.
That's not the type of AI that's really taken consideration. No, that would be what's known as generative AI. These are computer programs that are able to take a prompt like a text blurb and create something for you. And what it creates could be
It's just a predictive engine, and
like 80% more professional. It could be one of those audio files like the memes
let me
on
show you
TikTok saying
something.
that they don't even think once. Or it could be a silly image of a cat in a suit handing out donuts.
There's an
Or you might look
image.
at this sort of generative AI tool and think, hey,
If an intelligent thing is really intelligent, it can produce things that do not exist, right? And
generative AI tool and think, hey, that's cool. Or they have to be trained. A human has to go in and give them information and instructions to tell it when it's gotten something right and where it needs to improve. To be clear, that's completely normal in these sort of AI models, and that isn't the problem. The problem comes down to what information is being given to these AI models. Let's say that I want to take a picture of myself and turn it into a Van Gogh-esque painting using a generative AI model like ChatGPT. That AI isn't going to know who Vincent Van Gogh is unless it's told that information. It's also not going to know how his art style was unless it's given examples of his work. So give the AI every single painting Van Gogh ever did, and bam, now it understands that style and can create those paintings. Obviously, that's a simplified explanation, but you get the gist. Now, Van Gogh has been dead for over 100 years. All of his work is in the public domain, so giving his work to an AI model is one thing. But what if you wanted to do the same thing with a living artist? Or, say, a small, independent artist you found on Twitter or Instagram? There's a big problem here. With these generative AI models, there's nothing really stopping someone from coming in when they find an artist with a unique style that they really like, gobbling up all of their work without permission, and then making new artwork in that style with a generative AI without paying that original artist. Artists, writers, and performers are rightfully worried about malicious actors coming in and taking their work without permission and without paying them, and feeding them into AI models. And I get it. That is theft. And that type of AI and the companies using them are profiting off of the backs of people who should be getting compensated for that work, who should be getting paid to do that work instead of the AI doing it for free. Because of this, our stance at Theorist has always been that we support human artists. Now, we will never use generative AI for assets, scripts, or editing for our videos. We will not create those things ourselves or intentionally use assets that have been AI generated in a video that isn't specifically about that AI generated content. And I want to be 100% crystal clear here. If you are an artist, or a writer, or an actor, or just someone who feels angry that there are people or corporations stealing your work to feed into AI models and algorithms, your feelings are 100% valid and justified. The theft of your work is unacceptable, and those responsible should be held accountable. And yet, even if they are held accountable, if they're fined or forced to settle with the artists that they stole from to pay up for breaking the law, they might just view that as the cost of doing business, keep on stealing that work and using it for their own benefit, using it in their own products and selling that technology to others to use in theirs. If you're like me, or the rest of us here at Theorist, that creates a problem when we cover industries that are going to use generative AI that benefits from stolen work. I spent a lot of time thinking about this, really weighing everything up, and I talked to everyone in Team Theorist about it. And I mean everyone. I talked to the other hosts, I talked to our producers, I talked to our strategy guy, I talked to Matt, and all of us agreed
device damage is caused by using poor quality chargers. Check your iPhone and iPad and choose this fast wall charger design.
to Matt, and all of us agreed we had to confront this. We had to figure out how we were going to move forward because the hard truth is that generative AI is here. It's not going away. Pandora's box has been opened. The genie is out of the bottle, and it's never going back in. I do not see a future where we here at Theorist can avoid covering projects that use generative AI. But we're getting ahead of ourselves, because it's also becoming nigh impossible to avoid AI assets on today's internet. Yes, our editors and artists don't use generative AI to create any assets that they make for our theories, but we can't make everything we might need for a video. We can't go out and take every stock photo, or travel to every location we might need a picture of, or, like, make a 3D model of a dragon wearing blue jeans riding a skateboard when we need one for a theory. That sounds oddly specific, but you'd be surprised. So we rely on stock imagery sources to get a lot of our assets. And in recent years, these websites have been flooded with AI-generated content. Sometimes it's labeled. Sometimes it's easy to tell, so we don't use those. But in other cases, they're not labeled, and it's not easy to tell. Is this image a highly polished photograph just touched up in Photoshop? Or is it generated by AI? Is
this art in an artist's specific style with imperfections because they're human? Or was it generated with AI? Is this 3D model of a dragon wearing blue jeans and riding a skateboard because it was made to fill a very specific niche? Or was it generated by an AI that didn't know any better? It's hard to figure out sometimes. It just blows my mind. Our editors and thumbnail artists are some of the best in the business. They are intelligent, clever creatives, and I don't blame them in the slightest for missing when something is AI generated, because I miss it too. No joke. We have a minimum of 3 people look at our videos before they go up, sometimes more. And one of the things we look for is when an asset just feels off. Sometimes, even if we're not sure an asset is AI generated and it just feels wrong, we'll ask the editor to replace it just to be safe. But as time has gone on, it's become harder and harder to spot the difference. And sometimes an asset will slip through the cracks. This actually happened in the last couple of weeks in one of my film theories covering the Minecraft movie. And while I wish I could say that it's never going to happen again, I just can't. Why? Because these generative AI are only going to get better and better. And eventually, they'll be indistinguishable.
Yeah, just look at like Pinterest. There's like millions of AI there.
These were basically pictures of Pope Francis walking around wearing a very expensive puffer jacket.
Almost everything is AI.
Which was weird because that wasn't really something that was in character for the Pope. Well, that wasn't real. This was a series of AI-generated images, and while I consider myself a pretty savvy person when it comes to this sort of technology, I'm not afraid to admit that these pictures legitimately fooled me as I scrolled past them in my feed. This was actually the first circumstance where I was genuinely taken aback by how good and how realistic these images could be. I just thought that these were fun, silly pictures taken of the Pope wearing an ice jacket. It's weird and it's funny, and that's why it went viral, but just imagine.
Asset movements over time, combined with technical and
weird and it's funny, and that's why it went viral, but whatever. What do you mean they were generated with AI? Now, sure, they fall apart when you really look closely at certain parts, his eyes and his hands and such. But how much longer are these tells actually going to be in these sorts of images? We used to make fun of stuff like AI Will Smith eating spaghetti. I mean, just look at this monstrosity. But now, just 2 years later, these same sorts of videos are getting really scary good. Sure, this one here still isn't perfect. There are still tells that it was generated by AI, but there is no question that this video is much, much better. Now, keep in mind, the amount of time between these 2 videos here is just 2 years. 2 years! That is nothing in the grand scheme of things. So, another 2 years. And AI is the worst it's ever going to be right now. Every day it improves. I am almost certain that you have seen some piece of art that you really liked, generated by AI, even if you didn't realize it. The same can be said of generative AI in all areas. They already look, sound very good, very close to the real